Hey guys, Bethany Starks here.
What's up? Christy Dunton here, guys.
Grit and Grace podcast, and it has been a few weeks since we have touched base. Our last episode was about our grandma's marathon. So Christy, what have you been doing lately?
Oh, so many things. Well, I just ran 8 miles today, and I competed in DECA, and I did qualify for Strong in last weekend for Worlds. Ranked in the top 10 for that, so I got that underneath, got that done. Breath of fresh air, because there's only 30 days left to qualify for World Championships. My husband and I qualified for DECA Mile and DECA Strong, and so hopefully I'll be competing in 4 things in DECA.
Yes, and that is December, right?
It's coming up. It's in Fort Lauderdale. Yes. And what about you?
Yes, I ran 18 miles this morning in the Texas heat. We have been running really early because the humidity is rough. So doing a marathon 3 weeks from tomorrow.
Yes.
In Boston, not the Boston Marathon, a marathon in Boston.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then I did DECA too, and that was super fun. I am still trying to figure out how DECA can make you want to throw up, but I can run a marathon and not feel like I'm going to throw up. So
it's that fun anaerobic threshold.
Yes.
It's fun.
But we enjoyed it. My husband and I competed too.
Yep.
So, yeah. And then we're planning we're going on a racecation soon.
Yes.
And that will be fun. Bar Harbor, Maine.
Bar Harbor.
So that's what Christy's training for.
I am. Half marathon is on the books. So a lot of training, a lot of focus on DECA training and preparing for that, and making sure that I'm still lifting weights and being strong and making sure my body's able to perform. So
yeah, and that goes well with what our topic is today.
It does.
So we've had so many questions at all the things that we have hosted here at Grace Wellness and then your Breaking Barriers clients about fasting. And so we kind of promised you all that we would do a deep dive into fasting. And so tell me about fasting for you and kind of where that idea was born and how long you've done it.
I've done so many different fasts. I would probably say I started fasting, I would say maybe 7 or 8 years ago. 7 or 8 years ago, I started on the intermittent fasting where I wouldn't eat for a certain period of time. And it was for weight loss. It was a journey of weight loss for me. And it did well. I just was able to cut down my eating window, which we will talk about, and I was able to lose weight. So it made me curious of what's really going on. So as if you guys know about me, I love podcasts, I love education. I've read some books on fasting, and I've done, intermittent fasting many times. I do that as, I probably intermittent fast at least 5 days a week. That I'm not eating for 12 to 16 hours at a time. And I also do a 24-hour fast, 36-hour fast, and I've done a 72-hour, a 3-day water fast on just water. So
yeah. So we are really going to bust through the myth. You mentioned that when you started fasting, and I think this is probably most people, when they started fasting, it was strictly for weight loss.
Yes.
And that is definitely a benefit, but we are going to talk about many other benefits beyond just weight loss.
Yes.
So, and I tell patients all the time, you mentioned the 12-hour and 5 days a week, that everybody should be fasting for 12 hours no matter what.
Yes.
And so many people aren't.
Yep.
So that is very basic, that our body needs that to be metabolically flexible, which we are going to talk more about.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like I just did that 4-week nutrition course, and we talked about insulin resistance. We talked about gut health, and we talked about different dieting methods and ways that you can lose weight. And the thing that was similar in all of it was stop eating for a certain amount of time to heal your gut, for insulin resistance. And it was a constant thing. Don't eat for 12 hours. Like that was an action item that I challenged all of my clients to do. Can you go at least 12 hours without food?
Right, which it is staggering to me how many people never do
Yes.
that in today's world. And part of it is we have been inundated with all the different diet crazes, which you talked about some in your nutrition course too. And so it has led to confusion.
Yes.
I should eat every 2 hours to, stoke my metabolism, those things. But today we are going to talk about fasting more as a therapeutic tool to heal our metabolic system. And as you said, in the United States and really in the whole world, insulin resistance is one of the biggest health problems, and then leading to type 2 diabetes. And even our teenagers and kids, it is very scary. And so we're going to talk about autophagy, cellular renewal, and then how we can tailor it to the woman's body.
Yeah, and it's just as a reminder that it truly is not a fad, and I don't like to think of it as a diet. From all the research that I've done and trying different ways of doing fasting, I see the health benefit of healing my body, and because this world is declining faster. Our body's declining faster. We have the environment, we have the food that we are fighting against. And if we are able to just stop and let our body heal, it makes the biggest difference. So that's where my mind has now turned when I think about fasting.
And we were talking about this morning after our runs, that actually fasting is one of the most primitive treatments. And so, and even biblically, if we look at what God called people to do, to fast and pray, so it was more than just to renew focus and mindset, but I have to believe that it was also because of the healing benefits.
I agree.
At the cellular level. And then Hippocrates, the father of medicine, this was a tool that they used all the time to help people heal. So in today's world, we give all our power away to doctors, into supplements, into prescription meds, instead of going back to, this is so basic. And another thing that I love about fasting, it's free.
It's free.
It's free.
The same thing.
It's free. Yes.
Yes, it is. And it's always at your disposal, and it takes discipline. It takes just a small amount of knowledge, because there are things that we will talk about. There's a certain group of people that do not need to be fasting. But again, you talk to your doctor and just become educated on what you can and cannot do.
Right. So health benefits, hormone balance, which we'll do a little deeper dive into, fat burning, metabolic health. It is truly one of the only ways that we can burn visceral fat. And that's huge. So intermittent fasting, as Christy talked about before, is that time restricted eating. And so there's all different forms of that, whether it's 12 hours, 16, 32, 72. And to clarify, it is not starvation. It is a structured eating pattern. Even, and we'll speak to this more, but there are people, Christy talked about somebody this morning, that just fasting, but eating whatever they want, which is not what we're advocating, but they had great health benefits just by narrowing the eating window, because what that does to metabolic health. So fasting is about when you eat, not always what you eat. So, but like I said, we're advocating healthy eating, and we'll talk more about that. But, some people, very basics, it's just, you need to at least fast 12 hours. That's a place to start.
Yeah, and that's true. So, I mean, if you pull something from this podcast of us saying, it is shorten your eating window, because it fixes a lot of things. And of course, when you start to sometimes see those positive changes, it's like I tell my clients, those little wins, maybe it will motivate people to make better choices. Like, if I just did this, what if I do this? What if I actually get out the fast food restaurants and all this eating out and all of the bad things that I'm putting in my body that, the standard American diet is filled with. But it's important, because one of the things that people worry about with fasting is, are you going to lose muscle? And as you just heard me say, Bethany and I are both athletes. We lift weights, we compete at a high level, and we've got to have a muscle mass to do those things. And so just know that fasting, your muscle is preserved, but it's also preserved by basically what you are eating.
Right.
So that you are, choosing those high protein meals and things that are going to build your muscles instead of deteriorate.
So, as we talked about, improved insulin sensitivity is one of the big metabolic benefits. So, when you go a period of time without eating, it allows the insulin levels to drop and it improves your body's response to glucose. So, your pancreas makes insulin when you eat to regulate your glucose. And so, there's benefit to going a period of time without that surge of insulin. So it can help reverse early insulin resistance. So insulin resistance is when your pancreas is inconsistent about how it secretes insulin. So maybe you eat something that's high carb and you have a big surge of insulin, or you have no insulin at all, and so you have a lot of blood sugar dysregulation.
Yeah, and that causes a lot of weight gain.
Yes.
Because if the insulin's not doing what it's doing, and if we're not using it for energy, it's stored as
fat. Yes.
And
a lot of central belly fat that is kind of a telltale sign of insulin resistance.
Yeah, because she mentioned earlier that when you do fast, that is the one way of being able to attack that visceral fat.
Right.
And visceral fat is the fat surrounding organs, correct?
Correct.
That's the dangerous fat.
That's the dangerous fat. So when you are eating every couple of hours, your blood sugar is staying high enough that you have enough circulating sugar that is how your body is making energy. It's just using sugar. And so when you fast, it has to dive into that fat storage.
Yeah. And that's what you might have heard ketosis, and you've heard of ketogenic diets and all of the words that are used when you talk about a higher fat diet. But the thing is, when you go into that fast, your body does start to create ketones. And that is when your body does switch, because she used the word metabolic. And so when you switch from a sugar burner, which we're a carb dominant society, and we're eating so many carbs, we are just flooding our body with so much sugar. That's why we're so insulin resistant, because we're not moving as much. It's a perfect storm. And so then when you stop eating, your body is able to switch to a fat burning machine. And it's only at that point, most of us are sugar burners. You just gave me a number just a minute ago.
Yeah, 12% of Americans are metabolically fit, only 12%. And what that means is that only 12% are able to go in and out of that fat and glucose. And that is because of the American diet. It is because of how frequently we eat. It's because of muscle mass. Muscle's pro-metabolic. And so that is staggering. And that is the reason that doctors' offices are full and that America is becoming sicker and more reliant on prescription drugs. It's actually very scary.
Yeah, I mean, and so the way that you think about it is your body is only going to be energized and have energy if you eat. That's a scary thought. I mean, your body's dependent on the food that you're bringing in. I mean, the carb sources, the sugar for energy, instead of going to that stored fat. And most of us, we have extra fat that we want to use.
Yeah,
and utilize that.
It is funny to me listening to people every day that people really believe that they may starve. So we all have reserves.
We all. And
of
I've heard that. I've heard that every person. It doesn't matter if you are 10% body fat, 8% body fat. You guys we can all fast.
We can all fast.
And we all have
You're
fat.
not going to die.
We're not going to die.
That's right.
I promise.
That's right. So there are cellular and hormonal benefits that we're going to talk about. So we have used the word autophagy. And autophagy really basically just is like the ultimate cellular cleanup. And here's what's interesting. There's really no other way to achieve autophagy than fasting.
I know.
So, which is scary because we know how few people are actually willing to fast. So this is the cellular cleanup process. And this is where damaged cells, this is actually where cells that may be like precancerous cells can be destroyed and recycled. That's what autophagy is. And so autophagy is linked to longevity. It's linked to a decrease in Alzheimer's disease, different cancers. And so that is so important. If we truly knew and understood and appreciated autophagy, I think more people would be fasting.
I agree.
So the other thing is human growth hormones. So fasting, this is at the cellular hormonal level, it naturally increases human growth hormone. And so that supports muscle preservation.
Yes.
So you brought up muscle, and then supports fat loss, supports healing.
Yes.
And so we're going to talk more about that. If you become ill, like acutely ill, say you have the flu or COVID or your household's ill, you should immediately start fasting.
Yes.
Because it promotes that cellular cleanup. And so at minimum, you should do that. Like Christy had a sick household not long ago, and I was like, you got to start fasting immediately.
I'm done eating.
Yeah, done eating, don't eat. And then it reduces inflammation. So we talk all the time about inflammation.
Yes.
Christy did that in her nutrition talk. And I listen to patients all day talk about how bad they hurt, their joint pain, those things. And so it decreases inflammation.
Yeah, and I don't, some of you that follow me just saw that I did a 36-hour fast because I am running, I am competing, and I'm doing things, and my body feels good. I mean, I wake up every day feeling great, and I just noticed my knees were hurting. I'm like, why are my knees hurting? What have I done? And I just start to think, what have I started to allow into my diet? That's changed, because I have not injured myself. I have not changed my training. I did not go up too fast in my mileage and everything. And so I cut off food, and it fixed my knees. I felt so much better just from doing that. And it just reset my diet, reset my body, and now my knees feel great.
Right. So there are physiological benefits like we talked about. So it's a metabolic reset. Because of what it does, improving insulin sensitivity, overall reducing the risk of type 2 diabetes. And so therein, that's how it helps with weight loss. And then the hormonal balance, we talked about that, muscle preservation, autophagy, which if no other reason, autophagy is enough of a reason. And then you can actually look at biomarkers, lab metrics, and see C-reactive protein go down. And this is something that you can see elevated in autoimmune conditions. It's just a non-specific inflammatory marker. And so you can see that go down. And then, of course, there's cardiovascular benefits. You can see improved cholesterol, lipid profile, lowers blood pressure, and then gut rest. So gut rest is huge. That I remember, I think I heard you say that at workout not long ago, talking about, like, truly, that is the only time that we turn our gut off.
That's it.
Only time.
That's it. And yes, it's crazy. And I talked about it in my gut reset is because you've got good bacteria and bad bacteria in your body. And so we're going to say autophagy a lot. And you just got to think about it is a dishwasher. It is the only time your body can get bad things out of your body. And then when you fill your body with fermented foods and things that I'm always talking about, and fiber and all of the things that the good bacteria is going to feed on, you're replacing your gut microbiome.
Right.
And your gut microbiome is essential, because how many times do you have people come in your office that they're bloated and everything else?
All day.
I mean,
yes.
Fasting can fix this.
Right.
But I mean, it also has emotional benefits. So if you guys know my story, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I don't know how to say that. I'm an alcoholic, guys. And I've been sober for almost 8 years now. And so I have an addictive personality. We know this. Bethany has to remind me very often, less is more, right? Less is better.
Right. She's just all or nothing.
I am all or nothing.
And it's all good stuff now, but.
But so I really can sometimes think about fasting as a way to give me calm and clarity to know that nothing has control over me. I don't have that barrier to overcome that I can go without food. And it gives me mental clarity. It gives me peace knowing that. And it improves your relationship with food. Can you go 12 hours without food? 16 hours, 24 hours. It really astounds me when I talk about fasting to people and I say, let's start with a 24-hour fast. It's like when I try and ask them to take away cheese. It's like, are you kidding me? I will be hangry.
Yeah.
And it's you can go without food.
Yeah.
And so, but if you know me, I also believe in doing hard things. And so challenging yourself with that, it gives you,
Power.
yes, it gives you that wink of saying, I can do hard things. I can do this. And it just gives you confidence. And when you do something that's hard, that's challenging, that you didn't think you can do, it's a lot of power. It truly is.
And it spurs you along to do another hard thing. Maybe you never lifted weights, or you haven't competed in DECA, or whatever. You know, it gives you that encouragement.
But it also does. It 100% does support weight loss. When you shorten your eating window, and you maintain the same calorie intake that you did, or you're shortening the eating window, and you're watching that calorie intake, and your meals are just the same size. So if you skip breakfast and you're eating lunch and dinner and a snack, then your calorie deficit is going to be created by that fast. So, but the thing what I see is people will fast and then they gorge before the fast starts, like at the end of the night. And then we're disrupting sleep, which I don't like. Or they're eating so much during their eating window that they're now eating more calories.
Right.
So you can't, only thing you change is the eating window, and it does support weight loss. So, and we've already talked about the digestion and gut reset, and reduces cholesterol, triglycerides. It truly is that thing that God gave us to heal our body.
To affect every body system, from mind to the physiological benefits that we talked about.
Yes.
So we are going to talk about fasting as it relates to specifically women and why women are different. So fasting needs to adapt based on hormonal fluctuation through the month. And then there's cortisol sensitivity, whether you are adrenally stressed, cortisol may be high. And so there's some power in changing the way that we fast based on where you are in your cycle if you're a premenopausal female.
Yeah. And the easiest way to think about like your cycle is you want to be careful that week before your period. That's
the
when
luteal phase? Yes.
Progesterone's high.
The luteal phase.
Yeah. So you just want to that last week, the week before your period. She suggests, and we're talking about Mindy Peltz, Dr. Mindy Peltz, and she wrote the book Fast Like a Girl, and she really does teach you and train you on how to use your cycle. Now, if you're like me, almost me, or in that menopause stage, perimenopause stage where your cycle is not as regular, she suggests following the moon. So when it's a full moon, that's like the first day of your cycle. I'm all about the moon, right?
Yeah, all about the moon. Well, and I think it's important to note this. Christy and I kind of challenged each other a few weeks ago. We're like, okay, we need to fast 24 hours once a week. Let's do it from Sunday at lunch until Monday. And then I figured out, okay, I need breakfast for workout and brain power. So if I can do breakfast, then I can make it till breakfast the next day. But the bottom line is you're still making it 24 hours.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be a religion. Like you can make adaptations and still be successful.
Yes.
So yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about ketosis. What is ketosis? Again, just to remind you, ketosis is when your body switches over to the fat burning stage. And so I just want to just briefly go over like the different, what's going on in your body at different stages of the length of a fast. So in that 8 to 12 hours, your liver is being depleted of the glycogen storage. So it's storing glycogen, and that's the energy that we're using. So it's depleting that in that 12 to 24 hours. Now, that is a water fast, okay? So you haven't had any food, you haven't taken any food in that 12 to 24 hour period. That is when the fat breakdown happens, and the increase in your ketones is happening. But the big thing is, once you get past that 24-hour mark, that is when the ketones become the primary energy source. So what we talked about earlier, that metabolic switch has now happened. So just like everything else, you've got to train yourself to get ready for this. Sometimes that switch can be a little painful because our body is so used to having that sugar all the time, those carbs and everything as that fuel source. Just like, we all do. Sometimes we want to fight it, and our body is the same way. So it's not like it's an easy switch for all people. You could experience headache or even some lethargic and things like that, but it's making that switch from a sugar burner to a fat burner.
And once you do it enough, you become more metabolically fit, metabolically flexible, and so you're not going to have those fluctuations. You're actually going to feel some of the benefits, which some of the benefits of ketosis during fasting are, and this may not be the first time you do it, like Christy said, but stable energy. So a lot of times once people deplete that glycogen store, which it's important to note related to the glycogen store, that happens, it takes 12 hours to deplete the glycogen store. So that's the whole reason that we are saying you need to at least fast every day for 12 hours. That's the reason the whole world's insulin resistant, because they never deplete that storage. So anyway, stable energy, because you're not feeling the blood sugar fluctuations. So I use this analogy all the time with patients. Think about how you feel. Luckily, I don't know this for a long time, but how you feel after you eat a donut or a pancake or something like that. 2 hours later, you crash, you feel terrible. So when you're fasting and you're in ketosis, as Christy talked about, you don't have that blood sugar fluctuation. So once you deplete those glycogen stores and you're using energy that is from fat, you're much more level. And so because of that, you can feel mental clarity. So Christy definitely fasts before she's going to do some kind of speech. Well, think about it. Think about if you just ate and then you're going to do a presentation or something. You're bloated, your stomach feels bad, you feel foggy, the blood sugar fluctuations. So it is a tool to improve mental clarity. And then fat burning. So of course, we've talked about that over and over. Cell protection. So this is where it reduces inflammation, oxidative stress. And then it's super important, a tip, which Christy's going to talk more about at the end, you've got to stay hydrated. You can do electrolytes to help your body adapt and move into that ketosis without feeling bad.
Yeah, and that's one thing they do suggest, is making sure that you are hydrated, but you're using the minerals of like an element tea or a relight of an electrolyte drink that's not going to have calories in it. That's going to have the magnesium, potassium, and sodium that's going to get your body back in balance again. So, I mean, there's practical tips. You want to start, we 100% suggest a 12 and 12. 12 hours of fasting and then 12 hours of a feeding window. So that's what you call it, a feeding window and your fasting window. And prioritize hydration with minerals. So even adding just a sprinkle of sea salt to your water will also help with that. And what is most important is how you break your fast. So you want to break it with protein and healthy fats. And don't go with a donut or a pancake or a carb, because you just are cleaning your body. And so fuel it with something that's going to help build it back up. When you think about protein is it's mTOR, right? It's building. And so it's got those amino acids. And so it's building what we just did. And also think about ferment. I know a lot of people that I'm friends with, they know that I'm on this sauerkraut kick, and I try and eat sauerkraut with every meal or at least every day. And that's the ferment to feed that good bacteria, because I want to get rid of the bad bacteria. And so what I'm feeding my body is going to fuel the good bacteria. And but track it. Write down how you feel. Like maybe the first week of eating 12 and 12, was it hard? Am I more tired? And things like that. And so then the next week, continue doing it. Don't give up. And because you're not seeing results on the scale or whatever you're trying to mark and what your reasoning for doing this, but just journal behind of what you're doing. And again, you got to train for adaptation. And so I did say that fasting is not for everybody. Not everybody can fast. So if you're pregnant or you're breastfeeding, it's not for you, because you need the calories, and you're eating. We want to make sure that you're getting enough fuel. Children and teens, unless medically supervised. Those with a history of an eating disorder. Sometimes they can trigger some things if you do have an eating disorder, and we want to stay away from that. People that are underweight and malnourished do not need to fast. And individuals with certain conditions like uncontrolled diabetes unless monitored by a doctor. But I mean, we have already talked about fasting can help insulin sensitivity. It can help if you are on. Yeah, I have so many clients that are just on that border of diabetes, of becoming a diabetic. And if we just shorten that feeding window, it may just get them off that edge.
Right. The 12-hour feeding window, I still think most of those groups can still do a 12-hour. Just that should be like a given across the population for most people. So intermittent fasting, 13 to 15, that's like a daily rhythm. That is something that you can do every single day. At minimum, it should be 12. But then you may go, okay, let's do 13 or let's do 14. There are a lot of free apps where you can push start and it tracks your fasting and you can keep those notes like Christy talked about. And then autophagy doesn't start until about 17 hours. So you really need to plug in a 24-hour fast, which is kind of our goal to do once a week, which is very feasible. And then the fat burning really doesn't start until 20 hours and beyond. So,
I mean, and then, so when I talked about doing the inflammation ones where I'm really trying to go a little bit deeper and heal a little bit more, when you get to that 12-hour one, that's when you're starting to detox. Your body is really deep into that autophagy. It's cleaning up all the bad stuff, getting ready. So when we feed it again, we're going to feed it with lots of good stuff. A hormone reset. So that supports gut, liver, and it goes deep into that visceral fat. That's at the 36-hour mark. And so that is like a total hormone reset. And a dopamine and immune reset is a 3-day water fast, which is a 72-hour. I've done that, I think, three or four times. I've done a 72-hour fast. My husband has joined me, and I've had some friends join me also doing a 72-hour fast. And that is, so dopamine is like if you are like walking around all the time and you're like emotionless.
Dopamine is your feel-good hormone. Chemical in your brain.
And I actually have a friend that just did a 100-hour reset because of the dopamine receptors they're just damaged and they don't have a chance to heal because we're always eating. And so when you go that deep into a fast and you're at that 72-hour mark, you even get an immune reset. It's like a total reset of your body. I have heard that it fixes like some injuries. I've known people that's had Achilles injuries and they did a 72-hour fast because of the HGH and things that are going on in your body that is actually repairing things in your body. And that's exciting to me.
It is so exciting. And it just makes me realize, just like what we said, that we give our power away and we want all the quick fixes. And it really is something that's right in front of us. But we don't plug into it.
And one thing I just heard on a podcast was how that autophagy is so important because there's so many bad things going on in our body. And a lot of your organs, your liver regenerates every year, 3 years. I've heard two things, but it regenerates itself. And the question is it going to regenerate itself? Because it's going to regenerate itself no matter what, with
a healthier version,
or bad.
Yeah.
And so if you're constantly cleaning out all the bad stuff and precancerous cells and everything that's going rogue in your body by doing a longer water fast, when your organs are regenerating, you're going to create them younger. It's like a fountain of youth.
Because really, ultimately, if you could do a 24-hour fast weekly, if you did a 12-hour eating window, 24-hour fast weekly, and a 36-hour fast quarterly, that would probably be super healthy. And we know it's not one size fits all, but
yeah, I agree.
We should really have some goals for that. Most people. So how does fasting reduce inflammation? So lowering those insulin levels, preventing the blood sugar spikes, because chronically elevated insulin levels, which is most of the world, it increases the pro-inflammatory pathway. So it creates that inflammation. It stokes the fire of the inflammation. And so fasting lowers that, gives the cells a break from that constant sugar, and reduces oxidative stress. So sugar is linked to cancer, all of those things. So it all plays in to every body system.
Yes. And again, I'm going to say autophagy again. So it does promote autophagy, reducing inflammation. Inflammation is bad, and most of us are walking around chronically inflamed, meaning that your body is not just fixing a cut or an injury. That's an acute inflammation. A chronic inflammation means that you're walking around for 6 months, years, maybe even decades with inflammation in your body, and that is the beginning of all disease. So you just want to make sure that you're getting that cellular debris out of your body, because it can also trigger inflammation.
Okay, so it also balances the immune response. So we talked about pro-inflammatory. So cytokines are the inflammatory markers like tumor necrosis factor. There's a bunch of them, but it boosts the anti-inflammatory cytokines. So we have bad cytokines that are pro-inflammatory, but fasting basically boosts the anti-inflammatory cytokines. So that leads to a more regulated immune system. So part of the immune reset that Christy's talking about, or acutely fasting to prevent illness, to promote autophagy, all of that kind of helps with balancing that immune response. And then reducing the oxidative stress. So when we switch from glucose to fat metabolism, that fasting produces fewer reactive oxygen species. So oxidative stress is inflammatory in nature. Yeah. And then it improves the gut barrier integrity. It's the only time our gut gets to rest. It repairs those tight junctions. So you've heard the term leaky gut, which more than half the world has.
Amen.
And so a healthier gut barrier doesn't let those inflammatory molecules come into circulation when you tighten all those junctions. And then supports mitochondrial health. So fasting creates mitochondrial biogenesis. So it makes your mitochondria, which your mitochondria are like the cleanup, the janitors in the cell. And so it encourages those to regenerate. Depletes glycogen stores. We've talked about that over and over. Lowers insulin levels. Produces ketones. We want to produce ketones. And then it improves appetite regulation. So part of it, we all have an unhealthy relationship with food. And so I have people all the time tell me that they're an emotional eater. They eat when they're stressed. They eat when they're sad. Well, by breaking that relationship, because you're going, okay, I'm going to shorten this eating window, then it helps with appetite regulation. And when we eat, we have the chemicals ghrelin and leptin. And that's what controls cravings and really like the head hunger and the mindless eating. And so it helps us regulate ghrelin and leptin to a better degree.
But again, just so many people are walking around with a poor gut, and the gut is, it's your immune system. It's keeping, if a virus comes in, a healthy gut will help fight that. And so we're back to school right now. It's August, and all the kids are going back to school, and it's like, is everyone going to start coming to you sick?
Oh, absolutely. Everyone. They already have.
They're already coming sick. And so if you have a healthy gut, it helps fight that, so that you're not constantly sick. And it like she said, that leaky gut, when you have that good bacteria, you don't have tiny holes in the gut lining. And when you have tiny holes in your gut lining, things are coming out that shouldn't be coming out, and things are going in that shouldn't be coming in. And so you've got stomach aches, you've got acid reflux, you've got bloating, and I mean, it's not good. And so when you are constantly feeding the bad bacteria with all of the sugar and all the hydrogenated corn, fruits, fructose, whatever that man has made, it's ruining your gut. And so it's very important to fuel your gut after a reset, especially if you are doing that 36, 24, 36, 72. So Bethany talked about it's like a total immune reset. Your digestive system, it's the one time your digestive system stops. Like, it's done. It gets to rest. And so when you bring something back in, you've got to go slow with that refeeding to make sure. And you just want to be mindful. If you just went 36 hours or 72 hours on a fast, please don't eat a cheeseburger. Just don't do that. Go and eat some good healthy fat. Eat an avocado. Put some chia seeds on it that has good fiber in it, and then, maybe drink some kefir or eat some sauerkraut. And that's got that good bacteria. And so when you eat sauerkraut, that is what you call a prebiotic. A prebiotic is what your bacteria feeds on to keep them healthy. So your bacteria actually needs food. It's not a probiotic that people take in pills for gut health, because a probiotic is actually live bacteria that's found in yogurts and
It's like your acidophilus.
yeah.
Yes.
And so when you feed the bacteria the fuel that it needs, you've just gotten rid of the bad bacteria, and now you're making the good bacteria stronger. Please be mindful of what you're putting in your mouth after that fast is done. But
I would be interested to see two populations talking about school starting. A population of people that fast once every 24 hour, or a 24-hour fast once a week. And the incidence of illness in those people, we were just talking about the fact that we're never sick. And so that's part of it, because you're creating autophagy once a week. Like you're cleaning house once a week.
Yep.
And so it really does result in just better overall health because of the immune response, the gut permeability, all those things.
Yeah.
So fasting can be helpful during perimenopause, menopause. I have patients all day, every day, that complain about central belly fat. The average weight gain through menopause is 30 pounds. And so that is because you become insulin resistant by the nature of the hormonal fluctuations during perimenopause, menopause. And so this is a way that we can combat that by resetting the insulin sensitivity. And so that helps body composition. So you will see a change in body composition by fasting, because you're losing that visceral fat. For a lot of people, that's around the midsection.
Yeah, exactly.
So it can also reduce hot flashes, because all of this is an inflammatory response. So by decreasing inflammation, you can see an improvement in hot flashes.
Yeah. And again, you also want to make sure that when you are doing a fast, that you're preparing for a fast, especially the longer fast. When you're talking about a 24-hour fast or a 36-hour fast or even a 72-hour fast, you want to avoid things that are going to elevate your blood sugar. I do. Again, I'm back on it. People will binge because they know that they're not going to eat for 3 days. And it's the worst thing that you can do. And so you want to think about eating a higher fat meal, a low carb meal, so that you've already got that higher fat meal in your body. So maybe you're even starting to get a little bit of ketosis, because it's not that carb. You're not going in that carb burning, that you're already starting that fat burning for that energy source. Hopefully you're one of the 12% that's metabolic flexible, but we're working on increasing that number. But again, you want to support your liver and gut and adrenal functions by staying hydrated and just making sure that a smaller meal before you start a fast is even a better idea, because you don't want those insulin spikes, because then when you have an insulin spike and you have those cravings are going to go up, and it's going to be harder to fight the cravings when you go into that fast, or you wake up and you still have that insulin spike because you ate late into the evening, and you're going to wake up and you're going to be hungry and you're going to make a bad decision. So make sure that you prepare for a fast also.
Right. So physically, we can prepare by doing the clean eating for several days before. And our goal is that that's what you're doing anyway. Cut the sugar, cut the processed carbs. If you're going to do carbs, aim towards complex, real carbs. So, and then hydrate well. You need to be beyond 100 ounces of water a day. You can do the minerals, the electrolytes, like we talked about before. And then light meals before a long fast. Avoid those, no spaghetti dinner. We're not carb loading. And then you may want to plan to avoid intense workouts or high stress events during an extended fast. So you can still exercise during a fast. Remember, we have storage, but it may not be the day to run 18 miles if you're fasting. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so you can still, on an intermittent fasting, you can still exercise and not lose muscle.
Right.
What I heard recently, and I really like it, and my clients enjoy hearing this, because I do have a lot of people that like to intermittent fast, but they are so concerned because of that golden window of you're supposed to eat 30 minutes after you work out. And yes, fueling is important. Yes, protein is important, But what's important is that you are getting your protein intake per day. So if I weigh 150 pounds, my goal is maybe 150 grams of protein a day. That's my key, is to get 150 grams of protein per day. It's not, I have to get it 30 minutes after a workout. My main goal is to get the protein intake. How you get it throughout the day, that's just more of a minor thing to think about, because we already talked about you're going to have HGH surge when you fast, and so it will maintain your muscle. So just know that you can still fast and exercise and intermittent fast and still, because a lot of people, they like to fast after breakfast or skip their breakfast.
Right.
And a lot of people are 5 a.m. workout people, and they're scared they can't do that skip your breakfast. And so just know that you can.
Right.
You're going to do it.
And I will say, in regards to intermittent fasting, I've seen this for years, since intermittent fasting kind of became more of a craze, I guess you could say, is it's a good tool. I always talk to people about, like, what's your weakness related to diet. And so for the nighttime snacker, I think it can be really beneficial for them to have a definitive cutoff. So some of us just mentally need this cutoff. And so if you're always prone to go back in the kitchen at night, but okay, 7 p.m. is my cutoff, then for some people it's just that mindset that helps them.
Yeah. I mean, and I think Bethany and I are in agreement with this. I love intermittent fasting. I do. I agree 100% with not eating for 12 to 15 hours. But I will say the majority of people skip breakfast. And I would rather you skip dinner.
Right.
Because, yes, if weight loss is your goal, which a lot of my clients are, it's weight loss. But another goal of mine is always solid sleep and getting good sleep. And when we are eating dinner late into the night and we're going to bed with food on our stomach, we don't sleep as well. You may think you do, but you don't. Your resting heart rate is elevated, your HRV is lower, your body is still working, and it's not able to rest. So the way that I promote intermittent fasting is I would rather you start your eating window at breakfast, soon after you get up. Let's lower that cortisol with some food, and maybe stop eating earlier and start that fast, maybe like, not everybody's going to do 4 o'clock like we do.
Yeah.
Maybe like 5 or 6 p.m. and not do it a 7 or 8 or 9 p.m. So that's just a piece of advice that I give a lot of people.
And if you're wearing some kind of biometric tracker, like a watch or a ring, of course, we're like nerds in that way, but you can totally see it, so that your resting heart rate will be affected if you eat late. Say you had some kind of event, life happens. So sometimes we'll see it too, even though it's never our goal, and your HRV will be affected.
Yeah.
We talked about that in our inflammation podcast too. So
Yes. I just wanted to say that, because I will say the majority of people that I do meet, they would rather skip breakfast. So if we could just reverse that. But just as a reminder, guys, when you introduce food after a fast, and I'm really talking about mostly a longer fast, but if you can get into the habit of eating healthy fats and maybe something that's fermented and some protein after every 12-hour fast, your body, your insulin, you're not going to have those roller coaster dips. I mean, because the sad thing is, most Americans, we're eating like dessert for breakfast. Very carb loaded, very sugary, all of those Starbucks drinks and everything that we're going through and we're consuming even through a drink, it's not good for us. And that's not the way to finish even a 12-hour fast. But when you are thinking about a 36-hour or a 72-hour fast, you have got to think that your digestive system is turned off. So be mindful of it and be gentle with it. So you want to think about chewing your food slowly, making sure that you are going to introduce something like a bone broth is the best thing to break a fast with, because you just cleaned your body. You just cleaned it. And when you are going to put bone broth in it, which is so good for your gut, it's like you're extending that fast a little bit longer.
Because
So
your gut hasn't had to work.
I know.
So
It's
yeah.
gentle. So be gentle on that. Chew slowly. Make sure you're hydrating. And you want to do it in about like 4 to 12 hours. You want shorter meals, like smaller meals, so that your digestive system can turn back on. But you should be able to resume normal eating in about 1 to 2 days. So again, don't go eat that cheeseburger.
Right. So our takeaways are, there are so many physical benefits. We've talked about the physiological benefits, the fat burning, the gut reset, the decrease in inflammation that you can see, an improvement in energy. So the benefits are huge. And I think another takeaway is that start small. And if, say, the first time that you plan a 24-hour fast, you only make it 18, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. It could be a process, because it can seem a little daunting if you have been somebody that has eaten every 2 or 3 hours.
Yep.
So, but anybody can do it.
Yeah. And it's free. And just as a reminder, it's not a diet. And it's not about what you eat, it's about when you eat. And it is that one time that your body can clean itself. And so if you are walking around in fear of what's going on inside your body, and that is a way of being able to turn that dishwasher on and help your body remove the bad things, because it does. Your body is a miraculous thing. God created it to heal itself. And but you just have to allow it, and just control of what you're eating, of what you're putting in your mouth.
So it's not about starvation. It's controlled, intentional, and if nothing else, if you can just think about the metabolic shift that we talked about, that our bodies are not metabolically flexible, and this is a way to make them more metabolically flexible in today's world. So I think that's one reason that a big take home, if you know what autophagy is, like how important autophagy is, it's a way to clean things up, and it's a way to be less insulin resistant. Those are the two most important things to me.
And again, it's not about deprivation. It is about restoration. And by giving your body that intentional period without food, you activate your built-in ability to heal, to adapt, and to thrive. Start simple, but stay consistent, and let your body show just how powerful it's designed to be.
And I think what I really love about this is Christy and I, both of our heart is to empower you, that you can do this, that you can take small steps that make a big impact. And those small steps improve our confidence to make other positive decisions. So,
okay.
Anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay, so a few things we have coming up. Let's talk about things we have coming up, other than lots of races and stuff.
I don't know.
But we have some plans. Stay tuned in the next few weeks. We have several plans that we are going to host some things at Grace Wellness. Like this, about metabolic health, about hormonal health, probably a repeat of Nutrition Reset 1.0.
That was very good.
If you missed that. So just stay tuned. Our goal is, like I said, to help you live a healthier life, and to meet you where you are, and for you to realize that you're never without hope.
Exactly. I was going to say that.
Yeah, I say that all the time to patients, that you're not without hope, because it can feel a little, you can feel hopeless, you know, especially with all the hormonal fluctuations and in the world we live in as moms, and the fast-paced world. So our goal is just to give you tools to help you to live a healthier life.
I mean, and that's the thing, is we see so many patients, or you see so many patients, and they come to see me as a client, and they may have gotten some bad news, but so many things is reversible. It's never too late. It's never too late to start now, but you have to start. And
I think that's a perfect way to end. It's never too late. You just have to start.
Just have to start.
So thanks for listening. Stay tuned.
Bye, guys.